or I'm going to buy some trades that I didn't buy when they came out week. This is that week. Partially because I sound like Wolfman Jack's less talented younger brother, but also because there's not a lot out this week that's interesting. So we read 8 books or something, and I couldn't tell you what happened in any of them. But I could tell you that there's a new 25th anniversary release of Berserk number 13 out. That there's a great Blue Beetle trade from the New 52, the Jamie Reyes story, Bash by Rudy Gobert, a number of really great trade paperbacks, not the least of which is the Marvel Masterworks Daredevil Volume 2, that are all the things I ordered this week and almost no new issues. So this was good because Dan forced me to read books I wouldn't have read anyway. This is In Stores This Week, where we talk about new books that are in stores this week, and I'm going to do my best to talk as little as possible on a show where I have to talk. Let's see how this goes. Hello, John Spilios, and everyone else who may be here.
So how's the voice, Kyle?
What did I tell you earlier? I sound like Wolfman Jack got kicked in the throat by a horse. It was better until I had to talk to Henri on the phone for an hour today.
I think many things are better if you don't have to talk to Andre for an hour on the phone.
It's true, but interesting thing, I used them last night, and I think it's helping me. I switched to in-ear monitors instead of the big overhead headphones that I've been wearing, and it makes me hate my voice so much more that it's forcing me to talk better.
All right. So welcome to In Stores This Week. That's Jay. That's Kyle. And we got books to talk about. Not a lot of them. We only got about 8. So I blame that on the publishers who only send out a handful of books and the publishers who don't send us books.
Well, you know what this feels like, Dan, when I look at the releases?
A fifth
week?
Like
a 5th week, yes. It's exactly what it feels like. There's another book that I ordered that I didn't mention because it's a weird kind of situation with this publisher. But TKO is a comic publisher that is kind of niche. And they do things a little different. They're a little outside the box. They have a book called The Witches of World War II.
Okay.
It's a trade paperback that's out this week. That is, I ordered that book so long ago. I forgot it was coming out. That's how long ago I told my LCS I wanted it. But it's written by Paul Cornell with art by Valeria Burzo. And I'm gonna put the cover up here real quick just so you can see and see if you can guess why I had to order this book. I think the cover will speak for itself if it would load. Is it just me, or does that look like what would happen if the Three Stooges were doing an adaptation of something called The Witches of World War II?
Not what I expected.
Huh?
Not what I expected.
Right. To answer Jeff Wedding's question, I don't know for sure, man, but I'm very interested in reading this book and seeing what's happening here. So,
all righty.
All right, let's jump into it. We don't have a lot of books, so we're going to have to take our time to talk about some of this garbage. Gretel, Seeds of Despair.
Wait. Let's not start off by going talk about this garbage. There are some good books in this.
Some of this garbage.
Look, can you drop the Captain Negative Pants attitude? Let's talk about these books. Some of them are good. Some people are excited for these books.
Right, but I also had to read TMNT The Alliance #5, and I'm very angry.
That's strange because I thought it was one of the better ones in the Armageddon series so far.
Right, where was this book 9 issues ago?
Okay. All right, let's talk about Gretel here. This, of course, is one of 97 characters that Zenoscope has that seems very similar to the other 96. She's a witch that eats hearts. I don't know what happened to Hansel. I feel that maybe we should get a solo series from Hansel. But this is an interesting issue in that her and a companion head to a witch's island where kids are being abducted. This is being written by David Wohl, and it's plotted out by Dave Wohl and Dave Franchini. And there were some actual key interesting moments in this book. I thought there was some potential there. It doesn't read like every other Zenoscope book in that there wasn't a whole lot of smart-ass comments. There was a lot of bravado, but there wasn't a whole lot of smart-ass comments. And the main character is got some serious issues, like eating people's hearts. So, didn't hate this. I actually thought it was kind of interesting.
John, I think you'll find that more than just the cover is gorgeous. I thought the interior art on this was very well done as well. I will say this, I don't necessarily need the art to represent the Kali Ma moment in as gruesome a way as it does. However, it was very fun to watch. For me, this is maybe a high point for Zenoscope in the last few months. I didn't dislike it. It wasn't too long. The art inside was good. The writing was decent. Like, it's a solid C+, B- book from Zenoscope, which is an improvement over some of the stuff we've had lately. I like the Gretel character. I always have. So I think, again, do an ongoing and use this character. Do a 10-issue series and use this character. Don't give me this character once every 2.5 years.
Yeah, agreed. And John's saying that she ate Hansel or Hansel.
I don't remember that.
Me neither.
Well, I guess for once I'm gonna have to be the semi-negative one. Not terrible, but not great either. To me, this read like a sci-fi original or Asylum Studios knockoff of a Hansel and Gretel story. I thought some of the dialogue was cheesy. I thought they were the character of Caliber was okay. Okay, John was just kidding. I believed you though. The art, I thought there were some great panels in this, but I also thought there were some not so great panels. I think the real reason this was a bit of a letdown for me is from the Oz story we read last week, I think. And the Oz story has kind of made all the other stories just, I don't want to say feel inferior, but just they don't feel as good. I thought the Oz story was one of the best stories that we read so far. So I didn't hate this, but I wasn't like, oh, this is so much better than everything we've read. It's kind of in the middle there for me.
There were no fish people, but I'm beginning to think that demons are the fish person amalgam that they go to when they don't want fish people. All right. Up next, Cherish #5.
This book had such high hopes. And has just kind of been, and I'm not sure why, because it got a little soap opera-y, you know, a lot of things that it just got very soap opera-ish. Like, oh wait, that's my mother, and oh no, that's my sister, and oh my god, that's my brother. Or I just expected every other scene to end with the that 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 soap opera look, you know, held and then move on to the next scene.
Smell the fart acting?
Yeah, and it doesn't really end. It's the end of a 5-part series. It's like, nah, it might be more. I don't know. It just kind of started with a bang and ended with a whimper.
Yeah, I'm in complete agreement. Uh, the series itself for me, it started off pretty strong. I was into the tech, I was into the character, but then to me at least, it turned into like this generic story where things that should be twists, it should be big reveals, are kind of like not really surprising at all. Like it kind of feels like you see it coming before it happens. So I was like, to me, it was like, man, I really do like this character, and I would probably read her in another series, but I'm kind of hoping that this particular story is just done. Start her over fresh in another story. Because like I said, it started off really strong to me, but by the third issue, I think for me, I was kind of like, oh man, the story is kind of declining. But that's all I got for this one.
I've never been on board with this series. The ending where it did turn into that version of that song, I'm My Own Grandpa, where it's, wait, who are you? And who is that? And what is that person to you? And how does this, and where do you, and how, just made the whole thing much too much. The action scenes were good, but it never found a way to distinguish itself as being better or being different than anything else. It just was a slightly less good Jennifer Blood story, or a slightly less good, take a different character and put it in here story. Maybe it's just because so many of these Dynamite books are so similar. But to me, for something like Cherish to stick out, especially in a world where we have like some of these really good Vampirella stories we've been getting, some of these really good Red Sonja stories we've been getting, some of these Deja Thoris that's coming up. You have to really do something to distinguish yourself and stick out. It's not good enough to hit a double. You got to hit a home run. And unfortunately, this didn't do it. I think it's a fine book if you're into this kind of thing, if you like cheesecake covers. But it doesn't live up to its potential. Speaking of covers, holy crap on a cracker. This Deja Thoris book, like, there are at least 4 covers of this book that I'm going to have. Just throwing it out there. The art that they picked to do covers for this Deja Thoris, I'm not worthy. This is great.
Yeah.
So.
The covers are probably the best thing about this book.
I found the story to be interesting, actually. I was a little surprised by the opening line, or one of the opening lines, about how this takes place over 1,000 years before John Carter comes to Mars. And it's a story of Deja Thoris, which immediately makes me go, well, how the hell old is Deja Thoris?
Right.
Do Martians live a lot longer? I mean, that really threw me off. And I started, I'm like, I'm not even sure where I'd researched that. I don't know an ERB historian or, some guy that just knows Edgar Rice Burroughs better than anybody. So I do know one guy, Dan Taylor, so I might have to reach out to Dan Taylor. But that surprised me that just also the attitudes and stuff about the character is kind of a different take on her. Her treatment towards the Green Martians and stuff like that. I'm actually kind of curious about this one. I thought the art was okay. Yeah, at first I was like, but it kind of grew on me. So no, I actually like this issue, and I'm really curious where it's going to go next. So I'm in on this one for a while.
Yeah, to me this was way different than Deja Thoris I've read in the past.
Yeah,
which again is what's the word I'm looking for? Which is a good thing. Because if it was just more of the same old Deja Thoris that I've read in the past, I wouldn't be interested. I've read the Edgar Rice Burroughs stuff. I've read previous Dynamite offerings. So to take a different take, to go so far before John Carter, to go with this kind of different take with the Spider Army guys, very interesting to me. I sent Dan a text, and something that I want to know, and this is probably goes back to when Edgar Rice Burroughs created the character. Why is she always half naked? Like, to me, now you have to go with this kind of outfit, right? In order to keep with the tradition, because people would argue, people would complain if you put pants on her. But why is that the thing? Why was that the cultural touch point? And it's the same with Vampirella and some of these other characters, right? What led them to do this back when these characters were created? But beyond that, the idea of this Martian princess who's actually a strong sword wielder and a battler and, a good fighter, but they're trying to insulate her and protect her. And she has these ideas that are different from the Deja Thoris we've known before. Makes me very interested to see where this series goes.
On the topic you just said, Edgar Rice Burroughs, all of his characters are scantily dressed.
Right.
Not just the females.
Right. No, there's
Carter is always just in Tarzan is in a loincloth.
Right.
And I would think that he thinks that Mars is hot.
But it's not.
Yeah, but does he know that in the 1960s or?
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's what I don't know. It's like why Rob Liefeld has everyone have 30 million pockets. Right? Like there's a reason that they do that.
Okay. Rob has 30 million pockets because his wife, every time she buys a dress that has pockets and somebody says, "Hey, that's a nice dress," she goes, "It has pockets."
Sure.
His pockets are the greatest things.
There's a reason why he does that. There's a reason why ERB designed these characters this way. I don't know what that is. It's an interesting part of the history of comics where I have a blind spot that I would like to learn. I'm not disrespecting it. I don't know. Right? Like, why doesn't Red Sonja's bikini attach in the middle? Like, that was a choice someone made at some point.
Yeah. But then you look at Conan, he's running around in a loincloth.
Right. So this is just what I'm saying. Like every time I see Deja Thoris, I think about this going, I need to learn this crap, and I never do. So maybe over the course of reading this series, I'll do some research. So, but like I said, excited to have Deja Thoris back. Excited to have her be different. Vampirella versus Red Sonja. See? Her bikini doesn't attach in the middle. Is that a practicality thing?
Well, in this one, it's part of the story. Remember, she used part of her costume. She had a bigger costume, a full armor, and she used part of the metal from that, the smart metal, to attack one of the demons, and that all was left was about that.
Sure. But that's not always the case. I'm just saying.
No. Let's let Jay go first. I don't think he even talked in the last one.
You know what's really funny about that? So I've been feeling very good since last week. Good enough to be on the shows and push the buttons. Called into Kroger, like just feeling bad. I didn't wake up today till like 1 o'clock. So I skimmed the books as much as I could. This was the last book on the list. I did not get to this book,
Hmm.
but I did download it so I can read it later because I had been enjoying this series. So, of course, I get picked to talk about the book first that I didn't even read. So,
That's usually how it goes, bro.
I just sense those things. This is a pretty good ending to the series, even though it's not the ending. This has been an ongoing thing that Dan Abnett's been doing. We had the Vampyverse and the Sonyaversal, and then, this where they bring it into, well, the next one is going to be Vampirella versus Superpowers. So there's going to be another series after this. But they do wrap up this story arc in a very, I think, satisfactory way. And they do change the character of Vampirella a bit. And they changed the superpowers quite a bit, the heroes. So from that point of view, I thought it was pretty good. It wasn't a supper's ending or supper's ready ending. So again, if you've been liking this series, I don't think you'll be disappointed with the ending. I think it wraps it up nicely.
I've been kind of meh on the series, and I thought this was a solid ending. I thought it brings it all home and wraps it up in a great way that really does set up the Vampirella versus Superpowers, which is something I'm more excited about. I don't have a lot in terms of what I think about this series, just because it's a solid double up the middle, right? It isn't going to shatter Earth, but it isn't going to disappoint you either. It's going to give you exactly what you're looking for and satisfy that part of your fandom. That said, the thought of Vampirella versus the Superpowers is really exciting because the thing about superpowers is that I don't generally like the superpowers stories they do. So to pair it with Vampirella in this series coming out of Vampyverse and this that I've been kind of enjoying gives me a reason to look forward to reading a superpowers book. And if they can if they can hook me with the superpowers, now I've got this whole other realm of dynamite stories that I can go and explore. So I like taking a character that's a strong anchor and throwing them into these characters that maybe are a little unmoored. So, all right, I'm going to go first on this one.
Okie dokie.
I think Scott Snyder is doing some of the best storytelling of his career right now. I don't think he's writing good comic books. I think the story of Clear, the story of the Books of Evil, the story of some of these things he's doing over at Comixology first and Dark Horse when they come into print is some of the best storytelling he's ever done. I don't think they're good comic books. I think they're good. They would be better as prose novels or movies or television shows. This to me screams make me an Amazon Prime original series or something to that effect. It doesn't scream I'm a good comic book. Although Francis Manipoul's art is very good, it just doesn't feel like a comic book to me.
Yeah, I can see that. If this looks familiar to you guys, it's because we actually did review this when it was just a Comixology book. We did the first couple issues, and now they're finally over with Dark Horse, so these are in print. So, and this is interesting because it's actually, even though it says number 1, I'm pretty sure this was the first 2 issues of the digital series.
oh, okay.
Because it did seem very long, didn't it?
Yes. Yes, it did.
Yeah. So I'm not sure what the story is there, but yeah, it was very long. And this is an interesting kind of a Blade Runner-ish type world where the future and people use computerized veils to make the world what they want it to be. And there's a certain group of people who live clear without the veils that just live in the world as it is. And this guy is a detective, and he's on the hunt for a murder, or or investigating a murder. It's a pretty good kind of a noir sci-fi story if that is your thing. I agree that I think this would make a great Netflix series, kind of a what's the name of the series?
Black Mirror or Altered Carbon?
Altered Carbon. Thank you. Kind of an Altered Carbon type series.
And I remember when we first read this, that comparison from you.
Yeah,
I've still not seen Altered Carbon.
love the first series. Got about halfway through the second season, and have never gone back to finish it. Mean to, just haven't had a chance.
I think this one might have been before I joined the show. But I will say this now that you said that you think it's the first two issues, my first note is this felt like the book that wouldn't end. And I'm not saying that I thought it was a bad story, because I dug the story. I liked it. But it just felt like there was two separate times that, okay, this is the end of the issue. And then I would scroll down and there'd be more story. I was like, okay. So I kept going and kept going. I don't have too much to say about this one, but it is going to mess with me. And that's because this story was like, it was a mind trip and a half. It felt like a cyber noir mixed with Black Mirror. That's where I got the Black Mirror from earlier. Like a Black Mirror episode. Like, I have a lot of questions about the people that use these veils. Like, I don't know. It's weird to me, because you would have, well, this veil will make the world like the Stone Age. It's like, well, cool. This one will make it like knights and stuff. Okay, so don't you still have to interact with people, and your actions still have consequences in the real world? Like, it's just for sight? Like, that's all it's for, is just for aesthetics?
Yeah, pretty much.
It's weird. But
If you could live in a world where everything looked like it was the 1950s and cars were all like that, and rather than what we have today, and if you were somebody who preferred that era.
Okay. Fun question, because we're only half an hour in and we have 3 books left. Let's take a little break from going through the books and ask this question.
Okay.
If you could put a veil on, what era would you have it be? And I'm going to tell you my answer, because I'm watching The History of the World Part 2 right now, because Mel Brooks. I would go back to that era of Mel Brooks, Carl Reiner, the 60s, and that comedy. And like, when I'd love to go see Blazing Saddles in theater and see Richard Pryor do stand up and Carlin at his prime. That would be the era I would put my veil on. Just be like, you know what? It's the 60s. Everybody's dressing in, that kind of mod style. That would be my answer.
So a lot of the things you just mentioned were not the 60s, but yeah.
But you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I would go back to that era.
so it would mean that if you went into a movie theater or whatever, these movies would be playing? Like that's part of it?
I would think so.
I don't know. There's still, for me, there's just so many questions with how the whole thing would work.
Yeah.
I'd go back to Dan's favorite era, though.
My favorite era?
Yeah, the 80s.
You'll be very disappointed because it's not like it says.
Hey, I didn't have a job. I didn't have responsibilities. I was a kid. I actually grew up in the 80s.
Well, I think I would go back to the time of Red Sonja, just because everybody's walking around half naked. It seems like fun.
You know, Dan, if you go back that far, you would be considered a giant,
Mhm.
Yeah, I know.
and maybe would only be able to work in the circus, which might be fun,
Anybody want a peanut?
right? All right, so what's happening on the Dan Wickline show this week?
Nothing. We're just winging it. Yeah. Oh yeah, I got some guy tomorrow. What's his name again?
Jeff Trexler.
Jeff Trexler. Yeah, he's the acting head of the Comic Book Legal Defense Fund, and we're going to get all into the books being banned and comics and graphic novels that are being banned, and what they're doing to stop that, and how we might be able to help.
By the way, your notes are coming. I was working on them when I had to come do this show.
Okay.
So
And then on Thursday, we are going to, of course, talk about The Mandalorian. So the return of the best series on television.
I still haven't watched the first episode. Well, and I'll tell you why. I got logged out of my Disney Plus account,
Mhm.
and then I tried to log in a bunch of times, and none of the passwords were right, so I got locked out. So I've had to spend a week trying to get my Disney Plus account back.
I have two words for you. Babu Frick.
I understand. I read the internet, Dan. It's been spoiled. But I want to watch the show. And like I said, it's been a whole week of there's other stuff on there I need to watch, but I'm locked out. So I got my account restored yesterday, so I'll watch it probably tomorrow. Jay, what do you have happening? What's up with Space Cadets and the Triangle of Truth?
So this Thursday Space Cadets episode, they're talking about Girl Scout cookies. It was gonna be a 5-minute conversation, and then they started going into different flavors and what they're called on the West Coast versus the East Coast. So it ended up being like half an hour of Girl Scout cookie talk. There is some comic book talk in the second half, but it was a fun time, honestly. Just them talking about whatever they want to talk about and me sitting in the background usually has me cracking up. Triangle of Truth.
Do they discuss the rare flavor that's going for hundreds of dollars on eBay?
Mm-mm.
What is that?
There's a new flavor of some kind of raspberry flavored Girl
I
Scout
ordered
cookie.
those. I've got 4 boxes sitting at home.
Yeah, they're going $100 a box now on eBay.
That's crazy. Okay, the raspberry. That's kind of like one of the other cookies, but it's raspberry instead.
Yes.
Yeah, they talk about that
Okay.
one. $100.
Raspberry Rally.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Buy it now, $32.95. Buy it now, $29.99. So apparently the market has stabilized on the Raspberry Rally.
Yeah. For even Ed says it was $100 a box and they were covering it on the news and stuff.
Yeah, no. So I have this really specific Girl Scout cookie rule, because otherwise I will spend a ton of money on Girl Scout cookies. If a parent asks me to buy Girl Scout cookies from their kid, I won't. If the kid asks me, I will spend at least $50. That's my rule. Well, and so what I usually do is buy a couple boxes for me, and then every Girl Scout troop does like Girl Scout cookies for troops, or some charity that they're associated where they send Girl Scout cookies away, and I spend the rest of it on that. Is usually how I do it.
Yeah.
So I get a couple of boxes of Thin Mints and whatever I send away. But I ordered. My niece calls me and goes, Uncle Kyle, the girl who's in first place in the Girl Scout cookies is 8 boxes ahead of me. Orders close at 10 o'clock. I go, call me at 9:59. So she calls me at 9:45 and I ordered 12 boxes just to put her over the top. And I got at least 4 boxes of these raspberry things.
So you've ordered them or you have them in hand?
They're sitting at their house. They live 2.5 hours from me.
Okay.
So, like, I just get them when I see them.
You're going to have an unboxing video.
Oh, you think we're not going to have a try-on night here on the air? One of
There you
these night
go.
hot takes is going to be my hot takes on Girl Scout cookies.
There you go.
But no, I'm super excited now. It's $100, like $32. I paid $4 a box.
Yeah, that's insane. That's insane.
So, all right. Sorry, everybody. Before we get back to our books, I want to ask you guys to do me a favor. Hit like, hit subscribe, click the bell on YouTube. We are dangerously close to 1,500 subscribers. Like, dangerously close. Like, Henri calls me and goes, hey, I think I need to take another week off. I'm like, you can't. Because then you might miss your 1,500 subscriber giveaway. We're that close. So the second we hit 1,500 subscribers, it triggers. We'll put everything into place and start announcing how we're going to do it. But every show will have a slab to give away, or most of the shows will have a slab to give away, thanks to our friends at Dynamic Forces and Dynamite, to celebrate 1,500 subscribers here on The Experience. But while you're doing that, we are also like this close to being able to come to you live on Instagram. That's a big deal for us. So if you don't already follow us on Instagram, head over to Instagram and look us up and hit the follow button on Instagram. Like, this close. So that's those are two things that could really help us out. Be watching for our mailing list. If you get it, open it up. I could see who opens our email list now because we got a new system. So I could see that Ed opens his emails from us on 5 different emails. I appreciate you, Ed. Makes our stats look real good. So make sure you signed up for our mailing list as well over on our website and all that kind of stuff. It helps make it seem like I'm doing my job better. Black market on cookies. It's true, man. All right. Space Gerb. Dan said to me today, the only reason we're reading this book is because we don't have more to read. And I have to say, I want to continue reading this book now.
Why?
Because I need to see what new depths we can find. Like, this book is dumb in all the right ways. Like, this is if Steve Carell from season 1 of The Office was the commander of a ship in the fleet of the Orville, but was also like, I don't know, the Keystone Cops. This book is dumb, and I love it.
You know, the pitch for this book was, it's like The Office, but in space.
Which is what the Orville is. Let's be real.
But the Orville has a really cool looking ship.
Well, and the Orville has, what do you call it? People who are competent. But that doesn't mean it isn't good.
This book. I got to the end of this issue thinking, is something going to happen at any point? Because it really seems like nothing's happening.
Right, it's Seinfeld.
He didn't even get his desk, which isn't his desk.
Right, I really do expect there to be an episode or an issue of this book about man-ans and a frilly shirt. Like, I'm not kidding.
And a second spitter?
Right.
This is a rough book. I mean, there are some people who are going to love this book. And there are going to be some people that go, why is this in print? And how are they going to get 4 issues out of this? I mean, there's a conflict they're supposed to go to, and they're avoiding it. The only thing that might actually make this book somewhat interesting to see with these guys in combat, and I think they're just avoiding it. But at least we know that eBay survives the future.
Well, they're selling Girl Scout cookies for $100 a box. They got to survive the future.
I don't get it. I have the maturity of a 12-year-old, and this book just, it's not funny to me. The closest thing I even got to a chuckle was the very last panel with the chair. You know, I like Star Trek. I like the Orville. This is like a bad softcore porn parody, sans the porn. Okay.
We don't know that, Jay.
Not
There was a
for
lot
me.
of talk about initiating sex in this issue.
Well, not
Yeah.
for me. It's just not for me.
I
But I'm
think
glad
the
you
interest-
enjoy it though.
So I'm gonna try and sell you guys on this book in the only way I think I can. The conflict is not them going to the conflict where they're supposed to go. It's them trying to find new and interesting ways to avoid going there. Right? It's if that's the idea, is that it's none of these people are good at their job, but somehow they've ascended to a certain level and they're stuck. They're trying to get to someplace that they can't get to and they're stuck there. Like it's this whole thing of why people don't get fired from jobs when they're not good at their job. And that's what this is.
You mean like us?
No, we're more competent than these people, Dan. You could put the three of us on this spaceship and we would be 155 more times more competent than these people.
Yeah, I believe that. I believe that.
So, all right. The Armageddon game.
I'm getting it.
The Alliance.
Yes. This is a pretty good April story.
It's a good April story. It's like there was a good Casey Jones story, and then there's nothing, and I don't understand it.
I asked Peter Laird and he couldn't clear up the answers for me.
Oh, see, that's bad.
Like, why are you doing this series?
He's not. But I go, Pete, what's happening? And he goes, I don't know. Okay.
I really want to like this because I was starting to get some turtle love going. Because I know, Kyle's a big turtle fan. It's like, yeah, if I could get into this, then we'll be able to review these books. And I don't care. It's just, we get a whole episode of April trying to get out of a building. And it's one of the most interesting episodes in the whole Armageddon game.
Yeah.
And it turns out you can buy anything for $1.
Yeah, like I said, I was kind of wondering when April was going to get her own story. I mean, we did give Casey his, and before this, Casey's was kind of one of the best stories we'd read. Now, for me, if I don't place this within the Armageddon game, if I stop short of a few pages, I really think it's a solid story and I really liked it. It's when you read the end of it and it has to be tied in. Like if they could have just left it an April story of her, reverse dieharding in this building, trying to get out. If they would have just left it like that, I would have enjoyed this book even more.
You know what this reminds me of? The Kentucky Derby. The reason it reminds me of the Kentucky Derby is if you ever watch the coverage of the Kentucky Derby, it starts probably about 6 hours before the actual race. And for 6 hours, they show you everything from every possible angle, tell you what the horse ate that morning, what its poo schedule is, the trainer, the walking. They give you every piece of information you could possibly need, building up towards a 2-minute race. And then they analyze everything afterwards. I think that is Armageddon Game. Is we've got all of this build up to what's going to be like a one-issue comic. The whole plot, everything is going to take place in like one issue.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't. It's getting harder and harder for me to defend this series. So I'm not gonna. This issue needed to happen 8 issues ago. Plain and simple. They're trying to get everybody. It's like the analogy I'm going to give. Dan's analogy is really good, but it's like a wrestling match for me, these things. But it's one of those wrestling matches where they have to let everybody get their moves in before they can actually have a winner, right? You got to let every guy do their big finishing move that they put on their TikTok page. You got to let everybody have their little bit, and then we can actually do the thing. And that's what this is everybody's got their little bit, and now we can do the thing. And waiting for that is boring.
By the way, how did the snake person get trapped in a thing?
Suspension of disbelief, Dan. I mean, the next book, if you can't suspend disbelief for a snake man, how are we going to get through the next book?
Okay, yeah.
It was such a bad week. When Gretel's one of the best books of the week, Gretel and Deja Thoris.
I was really hoping we could have gotten a hold of Stoneheart.
I'm working on it. Image is a tough nut to crack in terms of getting preview books. They are they're a little more tight-lipped, I guess, is the answer to that question.
Here's before we get to the last book, I did have a question about the Deja Thoris book. Did it feel incomplete on one of the panels?
Yes, there was some text missing.
Okay. I didn't know if that was like their choice to do that, or if that was just something that got messed up with the digital, or maybe that was part of my problem.
I actually thought it was a story choice.
There's no way that was a story choice. Because there was definitely text missing that informed the later panels.
Okay.
Like, because you come back in the middle of a sentence.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess my mind tried to fix it.
Right. And so did mine. And with the COVID brain fog, it went, I want a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. No, I want a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And it didn't make any sense. By the way, then I ate a peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
Nice.
All right. Can I make a rule, a comic rule?
Yes.
Don't call something Godzilla and then not put freaking Godzilla in it.
But it's not called Godzilla. It's called Godzilla Rivals. It is the
right. I expect Godzilla to have a rivalry with someone.
No, it's
you don't call it
WWE.
The WWE Rival Series doesn't talk about football players. I'm just saying, if you're going to put Godzilla Rivals across the top, Godzilla is going to rival someone. But no. We have Legally Not Godzilla versus Mothra. Oh, and they made it about the people again and not the monsters.
Hot and I can't read
I
that.
got my Kickstarter from Jimmy Palmiotti or Amanda Connor art book.
The Pro.
Yep. This is awesome, by the way, if you guys haven't picked this up. I thought I would show a really good book instead of talking about Godzilla versus rival thing.
True, man.
Oh, my goodness.
I don't have mine yet.
I'm going to be super honest. I haven't liked any. Oh, nice. I haven't liked any of these Godzilla Rivals books. None of them. And from what I skimmed from this one, because I wasn't going to read the whole thing. I'm going to be honest. I wasn't going to read the whole thing. Maybe for like a lot of IPs, like, when it comes to Firefly and things like that, maybe for me, they just work better as TV shows and movies. Because I have not found one of these that I've liked.
I've never even heard of Titanosaurus. Are they making new ones up just for this book?
No, I mean, I've had Titanosaurus action figures.
Oh, okay.
Because I've stocked the Godzilla line when I had my store. I don't know that I've ever seen Titanosaurus in a comic book before.
Yes.
Ed's right. Why do they ruin it with humans?
Yep. 1000% agree.
Just do silent ones with nothing but kaiju.
Right. That's my note, right? Don't make it about the people, make it about the monsters. And put the stupid monster who's in the stupid title in the stupid book.
Telling you, man, cocaine kaiju. It's going to be huge.
Well, Asylum beat you with Meth Gator.
No, Meth Gator's a gator, not a kaiju.
And that's actually based on true life story from Florida.
Mm-hmm. And I know Scott Koblish has a book about kaijus coming out that's supposed to be pretty crazy too.
See, don't call it cocaine, crack fiend kaiju. Up the ante.
There you go.
Ooh. Wow. Not good.
Cocaine Barrisonia.
Not good at all.
Oh. My goodness.
Okay, so we're just going to do this. That's our review for the book. We're taking it off. Guys, it's a really weird week. Jenna and Alfie and whoever's on the show next are going to have Jay. They have more of the Marvel DC stuff, right?
Yeah. And it's going to be, I want to say it's going to be Miss Jen and Alfie.
Whoever is on tonight is going to have more of the Marvel DC stuff for you guys if you stay around and watch Minute to Skim It.
Mm-hmm.
This is an opportunity, and I'm going to put this on you guys, Ed, John, everybody who's watching. This is a great week to go in and look at the back issues. Mark, I understand, but it doesn't make the book any better. This is a week to go in and look at the back issues that your shop has. Look at the trade paperbacks. Look at the hardcovers. Look at the stuff that sits on the shelves that you might not get to every week because you're picking up your pull list, right? If it's a small week for you, or if it's a week where there's not a lot that interests you, use this as an opportunity to explore something new and still spend that money at your local comic shop. They need it in a bad way. So, like I said, this week I've got 6 trades on my pull list this week. 6. I only have 4 single issues.
And if you come out of the store and you still got some money you want to spend, go over to Amazon, look for the Old Origin Changeth.
Right.
The new book from Jim Beard and I. That's a historical look at the changes in the origins of 6 major comic book characters.
Hey, guess what? I still have the link copied, so there you go.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
It's in print and digital. You can read my essay on Captain America.
And if Dan's a part of it, no lie, it's not just because I'm on the show with him. If Dan's a part of it, it's probably a really good read.
Yeah, I enjoyed the hell out of doing the research.
Yeah, this is an opportunity to explore something you wouldn't otherwise explore. Mark, I see you. I bet your kids will love the Godzilla book too. It's true, but we're talking. My opinion. Our opinion is how we feel about these books when we read them, and it's not a Godzilla book.
He's the only one complaining that it needs to be a Godzilla book.
No.
But they do need to have less humans and more kaiju if you're going to. And I think your kids would appreciate that more too.
Yeah. So,
yeah.
Check out something you've not checked out before. Support your local indie creator, back a Kickstarter. There's a lot of ways to support the industry, but try and spend that money at your local comic shop. Speaking of your local comic shop, this show is, as always, brought to you by Comic Shop Locator. Head over to comicshoplocator.com, type in the zip code of the area where you are, and it will tell you where there are comic shops nearby to you so that you can go visit them. If you're traveling, it's a great way to find a comic shop to stop off at. If you're in an area where you don't know where your local comic shop is, it's great. And if you're just looking for somebody to go and you got your tax money, you're looking to go find some cool collectibles, find a comic shop on there, go check it out. When we were in Pittsburgh, we went and visited 4 local comic shops on a bus tour, and I found 5 more just through Comic Shop Locator. Go check them out. Go see them. Spend $5. It will help them. It will make their week. So, for Jay and Dan, I've been Kyle. Stay tuned for Minute to Skim It here on The Experience. We'll see everybody next time.